So, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Vincent Tovar, and I'm a Go Valley parent. I'm a first grader at Go Valley Elementary, which is part of the Eastside Martin vertical team.
Tell me about how the events that got you involved in issues of policy with the school district.
October 20th, 2011, AISD had a meeting, a community meeting, to talk about possible scenarios that would affect the Eastside vertical team. I went to that meeting and I started getting involved, and at that meeting they talked about IDEA at Allen.
So you got involved in the events leading up to the school board's approval of IDEA at Allen. Tell me about that.
Well, I thought it was a big surprise on October 20th, and I think the community just felt that the rug that constantly shifting underneath their feet, or their feet was now just out from under them and still moving. And I think that the scenarios that they presented with IDEA at Allen for scenario A, scenario B, scenario C, and then to have as scenario D a community plan, where it just caught the community by surprise.
Well, let's take a step back. What was the context in which you're being given these scenarios?
Well, the whole premise for IDEA being at Allen was to help Eastside Memorial, because the AISD officials that presented at that meeting made it seem like Eastside was a failing school, and that it needed a lot of help, and so we needed to put IDEA at Allen Elementary.
And so, go on, tell me more.
So, at that meeting, there was information presented that just made Eastside look bad. There was just a lot of unilateral information presented from, I guess, the district's perspective that the community was getting, and really fumbling or just flummoxed around being able to process all of it in such a short time. And we got split into breakout groups after a big presentation. And in the breakout group where I was, we had people asking questions like, well, what's going to happen with Allen teachers if IDEA takes over? And the AISD facilitator said they'll be phased out. They'll be phased out. There were a lot of questions coming from the people in that breakout group that where there weren't answers, and it just seemed like the community was at the will of the district as to the future of what was going to happen. When at the end of the breakout groups, and that one particularly, we were asked to fill out questionnaires or surveys as to what we thought about different scenarios. One of the school board trustees was floating around and telling parents how to fill them out and what they could be putting. And we had one Allen parent saying to that trustee, well, this is what I like. This is a scenario that I like. And the trustee said, well, no, try this one. Yeah, so there was a lot, and that was my first community meeting as an AISD parent. At that time, I had a kid in kindergarten. My first year as an AISD parent. That was my welcome to the school district.
Okay, so after that meeting, what happened next?
So after that meeting, we all heard quite clear that if the community, the Eastside Martin vertical team community, came up with a better plan, then the district would consider it. So we busted our butts to come up with a better plan, and we engaged people from schools all over the vertical team. We engaged community leaders and parents, and other staff members from outside of the vertical team, educational activists, educational leaders from outside the vertical team, to help us come up with that better plan. And so we worked on it, and there was a meeting in November of 2011 at Martin. It was the first of 2 community meetings at Martin Middle School. There was a meeting at Martin where I asked if I could present at the next Martin meeting our Plan D, which would be the community plan that would counter IDEA being at Allen, because we don't need IDEA at Allen, is what our community was saying, the vertical team community. And we were allowed to have 10 minutes at the second November Martin meeting in 2011, and I presented for 10 minutes, and I basically just laid out all of these items that we had discussed, item by item. Almost every item got a big round of applause after the presentation. There was a big standing ovation from the hundreds of people in the Martin cafeteria that night. I was told by an AISD official during my presentation that to try to cut me off. He said, you only have a minute left, despite the fact that other people before me were allowed to, present and speak later. So I definitely felt, intimidated, but it was very evident what the community supported and what it didn't support. And the community supported what the community had been working on, and not what AISD wanted to do at Allen and have IDEA there. And at that, and even that night, it's November 16th, 2011, our Plan D got bumped to Plan E because AISD presented another plan, which was still IDEA at Allen in a different way. So A, B, C, and D were all IDEA at Allen in different ways. And then we got bumped, and they didn't even tell me, they were going to bump us from Plan D to Plan E. I just happened to see in part of the presentation before I presented that all of a sudden we're bumped, and now, or after that meeting, I would say that plan just got put on a shelf somewhere. It got put in a binder, and now I know it's in a binder with 5 other Austin East Side plans, and it is or isn't being looked at, but it's definitely not being considered to the point that the community needs it, to be considered by the district.
So you had that meeting. What happened next?
After November 16th, it was clear that there was a train. It was clear that there was a train of IDEA headed at Allen, and we didn't know how to stop it. And it seemed that what we were doing, or what we had done for Plan D, which became Plan E, was almost this just this busy work. And so we petitioned at Allen. We made sure that Allen parents were informed, because between October 20th, 2011 and December 19th, 2011, which December 19th, 2011 was when the school board approved IDEA at Allen, IDEA to take over Allen for the following school year. In those less than 2 months, there was never a community meeting at Allen Elementary about IDEA. Not one. Held by AISD. Not one. At the November CAC meeting, at Allen Elementary CAC meeting in November, IDEA was on the agenda. It was basically the agenda. IDEA officials were there, or representatives. But Allen CAC members had many questions that IDEA couldn't answer. So IDEA said, well, we'll come back to the next CAC meeting, the Allen Elementary's next CAC meeting, and we'll come back with all these answers. Well, guess what? The Allen Elementary's next CAC meeting wasn't until January, which was after the December 19th, 2011 vote to have IDEA at Allen. So this was all a string of just a lack of community engagement, especially Allen Elementary. I petitioned, and at a winter program in December a few days before the first vote, which was supposed to happen on December 12th, 2011, on December 9th, Allen Elementary had their winter program. I petitioned, spoke with hundreds and hundreds of family, community members, parents. 9 out of 10 of the parents of the community members had no idea that IDEA was about to take over Allen. They just didn't know.
So it's your opinion that the community really wasn't engaged with making this decision?
To say that the community wasn't engaged, I think is a huge understatement. It's just a tragedy, you know, how uninformed, and not even unengaged, uninformed, you know, these families were and continue to be to a great extent.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure, thank you.